Signs of the Southland for National Championship Day in Atlanta, the 20th of January, 2025. I am Akshay Easwaran, and joining me as always is Jack Purdy. Jack, it's National Championship Day. How you doing? How you
It
feeling?
is.
You checked out the scene
I
at
have.
GWCC
It's
earlier
been
yesterday?
it's been interesting to walk around. Thankfully, I live near campus, which means I live pretty proximately to the stadium as well, and all the stuff that's been going on there in the hullabaloo. I walked over to the Congress Center on Friday to check out or Saturday on Saturday to check out the whole like fan expo thing they have going on there. I must say it is considerably smaller than the SECs that they put on for their title game in the Benz also. So that was an interesting wrinkle. But it's still kind of fun to see. And the merch was interesting to say the least. You could buy some very expensive signed helmets or some very interesting Atlanta branded neutral gear or just very straight up CFP National Championship Atlanta gear in just black and white. So,
What, you
uh,
don't like Perry the Pylon dropping the A
I
with his
mean,
anthropomorphic fingers?
I'm not like, there's only a few mascots I like truly like would want to be around. But what I was in the store was when Perry the Pylon was there taking photos with people, and no one was in that line to take photos with Perry the Pylon. Uh,
That's just being a hater, Jack.
that's
You
just
gotta you gotta
there was
really
also
be in the know to
there
like
was
Perry the
also like
Pylon.
barely I went during a very slow time yesterday. The bands played in there, and the line I saw on Twitter for the merch store was like half an hour long. So I was definitely there during the quiet hours on Saturday. What was very interesting, and now I have added a very interesting koozie to my koozie collection. It is a Big Ten branded koozie because the Big Ten literally had a setup there with Big Ten branded helmets and a crap ton of Big Ten koozies to give out. Uh, of course,
No,
Notre Dame, no conference. There was no independent conference, independence
yeah,
of
the
FBS
NCAA
table.
didn't set up a booth. I'm
No, there was no.
disappointed.
Just the Big Ten had it all to themselves. It was it was so just fun. I'm like, I had to get a
Terrible.
koozie. I can't not get a koozie from these people. It was so funny. Like, do you want more? I'm like, I'll take more if you take Georgia Tech and as a member, but otherwise, no. And those people
Well,
had no power.
I want to know how they responded to that. How did
They
the
had no
marketing
power.
people respond?
The marketing people had no answer for that one.
That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Also in the news as part of the national championship media palooza this week was the split zone duo
Hmm.
Shutdown Fullcast taping. I think that was at Monday Night Garage this
It was,
weekend.
yes.
How was that?
That was really fun. A number of us from the Rumble seat went about a year or so ago when Shutdown Fullcast themselves recorded at the garage. Me, Josh Brendich was there. Jay Grant was there. Uh, this year we had a much wider range of current and past writers. I didn't buy a ticket. I got fortunate. A friend of mine had an extra. Was able to get in there late. But Josh was there again with his lovely wife. Uh, Recent alum Robert Binion was there, but then also a guy who I learned was a writer and ran the site from 2012 to 2015. That day, Nate Muller was also there, which was very cool to just have that a decade's worth plus of FTRS people in the same room, which is really cool. This was also because the entire college football media ecosystem is in Atlanta right now. Everybody was at this thing. Like, got to see Matt Brown, got to talk with Alec Kirshner, got to talk with Spencer Hall. All the it was Nicole Auerbach was there. It was very interesting just to be like, oh, this is what this looks like when everyone's in the same room together for a podcast taping. And believe it or not, Akshay, people recognized me from this podcast at this taping.
That's terrifying.
I could not believe it actually happened. So to those that listened and saw me, thank you for recognizing me from my voice because my face is only so much out there. It was lovely to actually meet people that listen to the podcast and give away some stickers. I wish I had more. I did not have enough stickers on hand. Should have had more. So please find me again eventually in this life, and I will give you Rumble Seat stickers. But no, it was one of the coolest rooms I've ever been in. Just when it comes to this particular sector of our lives that we have of just loving college football and everything about it. And then
Yeah.
today I was around at my parents' brewery, Wild Heaven, and there was a bunch of Ohio State and Notre Dame people just milling around. Tailgate scene is bumping, where usually you see the Atlanta United tailgate stuff going on. I think tonight's going to be, we're recording this about 3 hours before kickoff, and I'm fully expecting it to be a very fun environment in Mercedes-Benz tonight.
Yeah, we'll be doing some stuff on the Game on Paper account. I
Yep.
mean, I guess it will have already happened when you hear this. Or maybe you're fortunate enough. Maybe we'll throw this up immediately after we
This should
talk.
be up before kickoff. This should be up before kickoff. If you listen to this between 6 o'clock and 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, uh, follow Game on Paper right now because we'll have fun stuff.
Yeah, we'll have some charts, we'll have some graphics. But that is not Georgia Tech related. What is Georgia Tech related, excuse me, is the number 17 overall women's basketball team. Do you like that segue? Do
I
you like
did. I
it?
did. That worked.
It
That
was
worked good.
terrible. Please
Uh,
don't like that. 3-game losing streak followed by a win versus Clemson, a comprehensive win versus Clemson at home in what was the third highest home attendance in the program history. So,
mhm.
to the person that replied to one of our mailbag or asked us a mailbag question about the attendance situation at women's basketball games, I assure you, everything is fine. Everything is going just fine. That the last hit of the 3-game losing streak was versus number 3 Notre Dame. That is an 81-66 loss. But again, that win versus Clemson that got them back off the schneid, an 89-65 victory. We'll talk about the Notre Dame game. I mean, we can spend as little or as much as time as we want on this, but I think the game script here was kind of what we expected it to be, and that Tech could keep up, but it just had trouble really
It
pipping them and moments,
it was
right?
an interesting game because we're going in. We both knew Danny Carnegie. The two best, arguably the two best players combined. These two teams were not there. Danny Carnegie is still hurt with her leg injury, and Hannah Hidalgo was preemptively out with the precautionary ankle thing. So I mean, Notre Dame was without their scorer, their like linchpin of their entire offensive system, and Tech was without their best bench player and best scorer on it. So it was already a weird matchup going in that sense. But they still have Sonia Citrone. They still had Olivia Miles. Their backup Westbeld just murdered us in the paint.
Hold on. And also, Maddie Westbeld has been killing Georgia Tech for at least 5 years now. And the same
As
with
I know,
Sonia Citrone,
it was just
who
like, oh, they're
I
still here. Dang it! Why are they
I
still here?
remember telling Jake this in person. I may have said it on the last time that I was on, and I think I told you this at some point. It's like, how are these two not graduated?
I know.
It's
It
like,
just keep
what is
hanging around.
happening? It's
Eligibility
crazy.
is just a frame. It's just a frame of mind. There's no rules anymore. It's just if you
It's
want it
all
to exist, it
vibes.
exists.
It's
Um,
all vibes.
for what it's worth, Notre Dame was having trouble turning the ball over, and so that's basically what kept us in this game. Is that they were turning the ball over, but we did not have the finishing we needed in this game. Without Danny Carnegie, our 3-point shooting is just not the same. It's not lockdown thing that we could just rely on. So we have to score in the paint, and that was very hard for us to do. We still were tied in the third quarter. Like we got it. We pulled in close, had it within 5-7 points at halftime. Got a couple of quick buckets, and then we were down 13 by the end of the third quarter. Once Notre Dame
They
figured
pulled
out who they
away.
yeah. Once they figured out who they were, it was that was the end of that one.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I caught bits and pieces of this while it was live, and then while I was on vacation this weekend, I caught part of the replay on ACC Network. By the way, ACC Network not marking when events are replays with any sort of text in like the top right is
That's interesting.
ridiculous
That is
because I've
interesting.
been
Yeah.
caught by that multiple times now, and it's
Oh no.
super annoying. Anyway, that all of that being said. This one, I think your finishing thing is right? Because that is what both in terms of the game as a whole, and then also that those setup transition threes that Tech has relied on in a lot of these
Hmm.
situations where they play really good defense, they play aggressive, right? Maybe not really good holistically, maybe not the right word, but they play aggressive, they play on the front foot defensively and try
Right.
to nail those steals in the midcourt and then turn those into transition opportunities going away and steal possessions. That I think hasn't been working as well against better opposition, right? The
Yeah.
Louisvilles, the Notre Dames,
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
maybe
Yeah.
I'll even throw the VT. I think it was okay in, but VT just couldn't stop shooting hot from three.
That was insane.
So
Yeah, that was that VT game. I think in hindsight now is just it's one of those funky asterisk games where you're like, okay, how do you play without Danny Carnegie on the fly? Like you have to figure that out
right,
during the game, kind of thing. And VT just hit enough shots. We barely hit enough shots to even make it to double OT too. So it was a weird
yeah,
back and forth there. Louisville was the we didn't literally just didn't shoot enough baskets. Like they were just not there. Notre Dame they kind of figured it out. I asked uh, Coach Fortner about this after the Clemson game, just like how important was that Notre Dame game just to have, and she basically explained like Notre Dame's so good that you have to have a plus game if you're even going to beat them. Like that's just what the lay of the land is. But they're getting what they're calling operational experience at this point. Is how she framed it, and which I take as like you can win, but they're at the point where they can truly intake those kinds of games and do something about it too. They are skilled enough to actually make it to adapt to where the next time, hopefully, we get to a point where we're in a good enough spot in the ACC tournament or NCAA tournament where we have to play them again, and can actually make a difference, and that can make a real difference in how we play them. Because I think how we played against, especially teams with bigs, with notable bigs, Clemson did not have notable bigs, and that's the real reason why we could run all over them. That still is our problem, is getting around those kind of people. And so games like that are important. Even if we lose by a bunch, this team is good enough now to where that actually can be a positive in some way down the line.
Yeah, and I think when Jake and I were talking about this the other week, I think one of the things we noticed too is that Chit Chat Right had also kind of started slumping, and that limits your ability, and especially without Carnegie on the other end, that
Mm-hmm.
limits your ability to distribute
A lot's being
that
asked of
sort
her
of,
right now. A lot's being asked of her right now. Yeah.
yeah, that limits your ability to sort of distribute those scoring opportunities from three.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a lot earlier in the season how about both of them were transition three specialists, right?
Yep.
Or
Yep.
both of
Yep.
them could dribble drive to the rim. I think Carnegie did a lot more dribble driving to the
Carney's
rim.
better at that. Yep.
Yeah. But now you're asking a freshman to take a lot of that responsibility on herself. And to be fair, in this Clemson game, sort of transition between both of them, Tony Morgan puts together a triple double. So let's not, avoid
Yeah.
giving her flowers either. But it's just that, not to do the Moneyball bit, but they've had to recreate that ability of Danny Carnegie, excuse me, to do all of those things,
Right.
right? In
And
in the aggregate across multiple players, and then you also lose the raw scoring output.
how they've
Um,
done that is they've taken Inez Noguero out of the starting lineup and put Chit Chat in the starting lineup because they want to have more quick offense there immediately because they know they're missing the thing that also provided that in those critical minutes early in the first quarter. Which it didn't really work against Notre Dame. Notre Dame was fast, and they basically took. I mean, our thing is transition offense. That is what gets those chunk scoring runs where we are just blowing teams out. And Notre Dame was very good at preventing that. For all the reasons I have just said beforehand, that was all that leads to the fact we could not score in transition. We cannot get Chit Chat in comfortable spots for her. It forced a lot of stress on Tony and Kara to get things done, basically, which is what happens when a game slows down for us. Um, Clemson, on
yeah,
the other hand, like I mean, I think we can. I've rested enough on Notre Dame. Clemson was all of that. Everyone was working well. We were shooting like crazy out the wazoo. We were getting in the paint immediately, quickly scoring. We had a 8 bucket run and a 9 bucket run in this game. Clemson also had their own 8 bucket run, which kind of made me a little nervous for a second. But they got out of it quickly. But yeah, okay. The records that were set in this game. Tech has now had 4 triple doubles, women's basketball, 4 triple doubles in team history. This was the first one in 23 years. The last one was Millie Martinez in 2002. Tony Morgan outdid her by a couple points in assists here. Um, this is the believe this is the most assists in a triple double in ACC history. She had 14 assists, which was the most of any category in the points, rebounds, and assist columns. She did this mostly with assists, which is wild. Uh, but why? We had 6 people score double digits in this game, which is nuts. That is our. I think Dell said our previous record was 5 in this season. Chit Chat did it. Kayla was on fire tonight. This was so good to see. Or I say tonight, yesterday. Kayla Black, she was on fire. Chit Chat got her points. Rustin Augusta Knight got her points. Tony and then Kara Dunn. Uh, it was. Oh, and Tiana. Sorry, no, Tiana Thompson. It was Tiana Thompson was one of them as well. The freshman who scored a bunch in the fourth, scored 10 in the fourth quarter. Um, Clemson, we were able to outrun them. That was the main thing. We were able to outrun them and play the kind of more distribution, less quick shot kind of offense that we've been used to and stuff like that. So we needed this. This was a big get off the snag game to prove that we're still good enough to beat the teams we're supposed to beat. And Clemson's near 500 in record, and we've only lost 3 times. So
yeah. I mean, going back to the Torvik page, like we like to do on this here podcast, Tech has now had a couple of games under 90,
Makes sense.
90 game score, which is depressing, but we persist. That VT game is an 83. That Louisville game is a 71. We should
Mm,
come back around to that at some point.
that sounds
Notre
right.
Dame, surprisingly, 97. So
Really? 97. Okay.
I
I
think,
mean, the turnovers helped a lot. Like we were still making life hell for Notre Dame. We definitely played up somewhat in that game given the situation, but Notre Dame absolutely played down in that game as well. So that doesn't surprise me too much.
yeah, there's a lot of red across the board defensively, but I mean, when you allow 81 points, that just kind of
Yeah,
happens.
it's
And you
gonna.
also get, when
Yeah.
you get out rebounded too, that
Oh, that was a
tends to
big
happen.
thing. There's the size thing. They doubled us 50 to 25 in rebounds in that game. Like you're not gonna win basketball games if you're getting out rebounded 2-1. That's just unless you only shoot threes and hit every three. Like it's just not happening.
Yeah. And then the Clemson game again is a 99 game score, but the offensive rebound bug there
Huge.
also that's also like the red mark there. When we look at them, like look at this team holistically now, still that free throw rate is still the massive red
It's
flag on
not
the
great.
board. And I
Yeah, it's
think
not
we have
perfect.
enough games in the sample at this point. I mean, they've gone through more than half of the schedule at this point. There's enough games in this sample to say, okay, well, they are. I don't know, like basketball's not my thing, but when we talk about soccer, like drawing fouls is a skill, right?
Right. Yep.
Being shifty, being able to draw contact when a play is dead or you don't have an opportunity. That
Mhm.
kind of is an art form. And if you're taking that logic and applying it to basketball, this is something that like this is kind of the last piece that this team needs to figure out. If you're just looking at
Yeah.
oh, there's all this green and then this one is dark red.
Right. I say for
Ah,
this one, so the good thing is we're actually still out shooting our opponents in free throw percentage. We're shooting 75% or well, I say we are just barely by 1 percentage point. Like it is 75% to 74%, but we've made uh over 40 more free throws total than our opponents. So we're doing better about fouling or we've been getting far more fouls than we've been fouling other teams. Kind of across the board, it's like everyone's in that like the 75% free throw range like is about right. Like everyone's hovering in that 72 to 79 range that plays consistently. The outlier is Chit Chat Right, who in 28 free throw attempts has only missed three. She's the only person
pretty
over
good.
800 on this team, which is great. She only gets so many attempts, but it's fine. And she's shooting 35% from three, which is great, and it solves a lot of problems. Um, so and that chit chat's not supposed to get to the rim, so it's not a huge deal, I would say, all in all. Um, of note, Kara Dunn has now taken Danny Carnegie's spot as the leading scorer on this team. She's averaging 16 and a half a game. Danny stopped before she got injured at 15 point 1 points per game. So Kara's been this, and that I think that's a good sign. Is that Kara's been taking on more of that scoring load with Danny out of the game, which absolutely is necessary. And Tony's at 13.3 points per game.
Though I think if you want to, I guess, counterpoint that, this is an additional point, I guess, but Danny
Mhm.
Carnegie in the Torvik player rating metric that I will never figure out the actual abbreviation for. Again, it's super long, but it's a player value metric. She's
Mhm.
third on the team. So
Yep.
you're think about that chunk of scoring, defensive ability, and just I guess glue that you have to
Yep.
replace on a nightly basis. Um, and again, you have to recreate that in the aggregate
I'm gonna
in
yeah.
some way. And in this game versus Clemson, they did a good job of that. I'll also double back and say on the free throw thing, I may have said on the podcast that I did with Jake 2 weeks ago that I will never understand how players can't shoot 80% from the free throw line consistently. And I think I still have to keep to that here. I would like to see this 75% free throw percentage a little higher
It,
because that is
it
still
would be nice
tough.
to go better. I am okay. Well, I am live checking the ACC free throw stats right now. I will give you.
Believe me,
I will
this
say
is so
this.
much better than talking about men's basketball, so we can keep doing this.
Yeah. Okay. There is a team we have lost to in the ACC who has a worse free. Actually, there's two teams in the ACC we've lost to that have a worse free throw percentage than us.
We've only lost the three teams,
Yes.
so it has to be. I mean, is it the two good teams that we lost to, or the one that is more our level?
Yeah. Virginia Tech is above us.
Okay.
Notre Dame is right behind us. We're at 75%.
It's crazy.
Virginia Tech 76%. Notre Dame 74%. The conference leaders is Florida State at 79%. So across the board, we've made. I think this is what's wild about Florida State because they got Tania Lotzen. They're crazy. They're very good. Tech has made 215 free throws. We played the same number of games as Florida State. They've made 311. It's
I don't
it's
know,
it's
man.
insane. It's insane. Uh, so yeah. And for what it's worth, teams are hitting their free throws pretty well against us as well. We're yeah. I don't know why. We've also played a good schedule front end of the ACC schedule, so that's probably why. But anyways, there's free throw segment. I want to shout out Ari Termis as well, um, who has been just lovely assisting the ball this year so far. Like she's not perfect on defense. She's not stout, rock hard, uh, uh, Laurel Kubai level, just like smack the ball out of your hands, get away from me kind of thing. But she's got 53 assists to 19 turnovers, which is lovely. She got the third most assists on the team behind Chit Chat. Tony Morgan has 106 assists to 37 turnovers. Like she's got a 7-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. That lady is there's a reason this girl might I don't know why there's not a like I guess we haven't had a player to put in the rafters yet for the women's team, but she's on her way. I gotta say, she's on her way. She's doing the things.
We could have a bunch from the next couple years of the squad if
Absolutely.
this kind of thing continues. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
look forward to that. The our continuing and I guess completing our Bart Torvik segment for the night. Your top four, your top five in ACC Bart Torvik rankings. Notre Dame at number five in the nation, Duke at number eight in the nation, North Carolina at number nine in the nation, who, if you may remember, Tech has already beat. Tech at
Mm-hmm.
number 15 in the nation, and NC State at number 25 in
Yeah.
the nation. So it's a stacked conference
That's
at
good.
the top of the table. And Florida State and Cal are not super far behind. Louisville's at
Yeah.
44, VT's at 49. So
Yeah.
it really is not it's not easy. It
No,
is
not at all.
not an easy conference at all.
My
Next
last
up,
my last bit. You're gonna love this.
uh-oh.
We hate the third quarter nap. We absolutely hate it. This
This
isn't
is gonna make
happening
me
this year.
upset in
No, it's
some
gonna make
way.
you glad. The third quarter is this quarter we've scored the most points in all season.
Okay.
It's our
That actually
best
does
off
make me pretty
it's
pretty
our
not
best
miserable.
actually it's our best offensive output quarter. It's also our worst defensive quarter.
The
But
nap shows up in multiple ways,
it's
Jack.
different. It's different. We've this is okay. Here's welcome to sports. This is why stuff's weird. We have outscored opponents 363 to 232 in the second quarter. Meanwhile, that number is 412 to 321 in the third quarter. We have allowed 99 more points in the third quarter than the second quarter. Uh, once teams adjust.
Game state is so weird.
But then also we've only outscored teams by under 50 points in the fourth quarter. But usually we're in garbage time and we can let a few go in. So I would completely ignore that number in the fourth quarter. But all that to say, when we score in the third quarter, we've put games away. I think that's the point to take there.
Game state is such a weird thing. The last note, by the way, as I scroll through this Bart Torvik page, uh, Connecticut has a 15.2 free throw rate, which is, well, just to put it in context, is good enough for 361st in the nation.
What? Do
And
they not shoot free throws?
UCLA has a 320th free throw rate. And that's not making them, that's just generating them, if I
Oh,
understand
well, I
correctly.
think they just make their buckets and just call it a day.
Just to put Tech's in context there too, Tech is 324th. So somehow
See, there you
in
go.
good company. Something about that makes me uncomfortable. Anyway, next up for Tech is UVA. That'll be on Thursday, the 23rd. And then they have the much anticipated home game versus Duke on, I think that was Saturday. Sunday.
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 That's gonna be huge.
Sunday.
Yep.
Again, let me pull up where Virginia is in the Torvik rankings. I've spelled Virginia wrong. Stand by. Virginia is 71st. So keep that
Well, no,
in
we're
the back pocket.
71st. Okay.
Keep that in the back
This should
pocket.
be. I mean, honestly, just short figure. This should be a win. Yeah.
I
And
after the VT one, I'm getting antsy about a lot of these games, especially that if you look at that, we talked a lot about that run in at the end of the season towards the ACC tournament. It's
it's I
something.
mean I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I mean, we are only a game above UVA in the ACC standings, but that's because of who we've played more than anything and the unfortunate injury this timing. It's just when if there are winnable games coming up here, get those. The top of the ACC is going to cannibalize itself eventually as well. There's more games to play and
It's
stuff like
just
that.
volleyball. The whole thing is volleyball. It's the exact same thing. The same picture .jpg.
The what?
The whole
Hey,
thing.
the thing we didn't think would happen that's happening is that Stanford's sitting at 10-8 overall at a 2-5 ACC record. Uh,
Hey, hey,
which
hey, hey,
is
hey. Hey,
just
60,
saying
they're like 46th in the Torvik ranking, so they're still good in my opinion.
they're all right. They've played a lot of their road games so far. They've only played two home games in the conference play. They've played five road games and lost four of them, which yeah. So
Stanford gives me a good opportunity to transition to the men's basketball
hmm
side of McCamish Pavilion because Stanford beat UNC men's basketball on a buzzer beater, or effectively buzzer beater, at the weekend, which was hilarious in Chapel Hill, by the way. And I believe that was Stanford's first road ACC win on the men's side all season. Again, hilarious. We will spend probably as little time as possible talking about Georgia Tech men's basketball, four-game losing streak, losses versus Clemson and a very embarrassing, honestly, game versus Florida State, in which at one point I think they were down by 20
it
at
wasn't
least.
great. We kind of came back, but it made it a little bit of a game. But we still, yeah, it was another one of
It
those
was
games
not
where
great.
in the end it wasn't enough. I mean, Lance Terry did all right, but that's and McCollum scored decent, but yeah,
It's been a very frustrating season for this team. And it's not a lot of fun things to talk about, not a lot of solutions. I think we went into the new year or went into the end of the year and into the new year with some level of optimism about form changes, and they'd picked up a little bit of momentum on a three game winning streak. Obviously, some of that is helped by playing very bad teams like an Alabama
hmm
A&M or a Notre Dame. But yeah, this is we're kind of back to the molasses and the morass that this season has kind of
yeah.
turned out to be. Anything else on men's basketball before we quickly take a break?
Well, we should mention Mohamed Silla, who the four-star we picked up, the 15th highest recruit in the country
It's so
coming in.
weird to watch this team and then hear that news. You
It's
know?
absolutely it's stunning. I mean, I'm going through Robert Pence's our basketball guys quick article he did. It's the defensive anchor, which is huge. We all thought this dude was going to Arkansas, and then didn't. He came here. Quote: He said, I picked to go to Georgia Tech because when I went on my visit there, I felt at home, and I know they can help me get to the NBA." Which if people believe that about Damon Stoudemire, that's and that big time recruits can think that they can use Georgia Tech as their way to the league. That should result in wins for us because good players are going to be good regardless of the fact. Um, and this for me personally, this bought him year three because this year has been so injury plagued that it's hard to really put this all on Damon. Like I'm not gonna like I would. This feels like that weird Lloyd Pierce ending of the his Hawks run where it's just like we kept losing because no one was available to play. Uh,
Yeah.
we're in this point right now where it's like if Lance Terry doesn't do well, we're screwed, and even if he does do well, we're still kind of screwed. Uh, so I mean, I'm kind of giving Damon a pass at this point, just because like there's so little he can do with what he has, and the recruits are mostly a next year thing, anyways. So,
Okay.
and that's where the success has been is getting guys to say yes to Tech.
Okay. That is, I think, an appropriate amount of copium for me.
All right,
I'm
that
okay
works.
with that. That is a mental model that I can stick to.
Hey, there we
As
go. I've
that
learned
is
how
a
you
mental
work.
model that I can stick to.
I think I've learned
Um,
your brain somewhat here.
that's a dangerous game for sure. Next men's basketball fixture is Wednesday. That is the 22nd of January at 7 p.m. versus VT. Jack, let's take a break. After that, we'll talk about tennis, swim and dive, and then take a look around the flats at any other news and notes. Back in a tick.
I had mentioned the split zone to a full cast party. I There was multiple people in section 103 gear that represented Tech at said party, which was super fun. I got to wear one of our friends. I'd forgotten my hat, but a friend of mine had a hat, and so I got to wear one of the jackets, uh, sailboat looking hat things. I forgot what those are called, but the jacket script hat, which is very comfortable. I've now worn multiple kinds of these hats, and they are awesome. If you can buy a hat, go buy a hat. You can use code FTRS for 10% off. They've also got the Brent Key light sleeve hoodies. The coach hat is coming back soon, so you can come and get those. Are coming. You can get them. The rope hats are coming back too, so everything will be back in stock coming up pretty soon. Buy it from there. The bookstore is there. Well, but there's the tech grads you can buy this from, and that's what Section 103 is. There are some of our best friends for a reason. So that's what we got. Go buy the hats. Go buy the shirts. I think that's all I have. Yeah.
Welcome back to Scions of the Southland for National Championship Monday. Let's talk about men's tennis real quick. A mixed bag of a week. A 5-2 loss at number 19, Alabama. And Jack, I don't know if this is a misprint or not, but you
Nope.
have two 7-0 sweeps of Wofford listed.
That would be because they played them twice today.
Fascinating. Fascinating. College tennis is a real world of opportunity. Against Alabama, there was only one doubles win. The number 44 for ITA rankings doubles pairing of Nate Bonetto and Gianluca Carlini, very Italian there, were the only doubles win versus Alabama. And then Chris Aurora and Biagatti were the only singles wins versus Wofford. Only two sets lost across the whole match in the first match in singles, and only one in the second. So a pretty thorough thumping versus a lesser opponent.
Yep.
Anything else on these three matches, Jack?
Not too much. Just noting Chris Aurora and Christoph Clement are the 19th ranked doubles team right now, and we mentioned Bonetto and Carlini, they're number 44. And Nate Bonetto himself in singles is currently ranked 90th. He was ironically the only guy that lost a set in that second Wofford match, but took care of Jack Devaney very easily in the third set. So that came through pretty easily. All these scores are only a couple 7-5s, but otherwise, Robert Bauer double bageled Max Graham, so that's nice to see. That's very dominant stuff. Um, so we're doing what we're supposed to do in a match like that. This is not going to be the Tech tennis team of 2023, 2024 by any stretch of the imagination. This is not as top heavy as before. So, but getting wins like this is necessary. The Bama matches I would not call a surprise necessarily.
You said Jack Devaney, and I just got very distracted for a second. This is you can cut this later if you're so interested, but I was immediately reminded of the 2011 movie, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., in which one character takes on or uses the name Jack Devaney
Mm.
as a disguise or a pseudonym at an event. A great movie, by the way. This is is one of my
It's
favorite movies of all time. I don't know what that says about
speaking
me.
as a guy whose legal name isn't Jack. I agree. Great pseudonym.
No, the Jack Devaney is the pseudonym. So like the whole name.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
now I'm gonna go watch this movie again. It's a fantastic movie, and it should have gotten more
Well, there you go.
praise when it actually came out. Going back to tennis real quick. Men's tennis ITA kickoff weekend is next up for them. That is in Austin at Texas. Texas, Rice, and Arkansas. A nice little Southwest Conference
Hmm.
revival there for Tech in Austin. Tech is the 3 seed in that group. Let's pivot to the women. Unfortunately, a clean old-fashioned hate loss. We don't have to talk too much about that one,
Nope.
but we can talk a decent amount about this 4-1 victory over Memphis, Jack.
That was fun. I guess able to make a quick pit stop over there before I went to the women's basketball game against Clemson. Doubles was very enthralling. Also, pretty good crowd there for a very cold day. Like people, if you haven't been, excuse me, to a tennis match on campus, people go to these things, man. Like they get a crowd. Like it's legit.
College tennis is a rowdy environment. Is
It's
a
slaps.
surprisingly rowdy environment.
It's fun. I always have a great time at these matches. I ran into someone today who was at that match just randomly. I was like, huh, how about that? That the tennis is getting out there. especially that when we host Georgia at home. Anyways, yeah, it's big.
And
Uh,
state, by the way,
State
the
too.
men's state one
That is
there's
true.
some vitriol in that one.
Yeah, that is true. Doubles wise, Given Roach and Alejandro Cruz had a very tight match to take line one, but they did, and that's what clinched it. Kate Sherabrew and Scarlett Nicholson also won their line. That was a close match. Both of those were 6-4, and Kylie Bilchev and Tally Licht were at 5-4 right when Roach and Cruz finished, so they won the doubles point. But it was tight, tight, tight. Like that was hard. And then singles wise, Scarlett actually lost her match 7-5, 6-1. But Alejandro Cruz, Kate Sherabrew, and Talia Licht were the ones that came through, won the three singles matches we needed to win. Two of those went to Sherabrew went to three sets. Given Roach was in a third set up 4-1 when her match got to be stopped, and Olivia Carnero was down 4-2 in her match. So this was close. This was not it was a 4-1 win, but point by point, it did not feel like a 4-1 win at all. The only thing is of note I was Kylie Bilchev did not play singles. I don't know exactly why, but she did end up playing singles, but got the win nonetheless. So it worked out all said and done.
Makes sense. I like when they do the juggle the lineup for doubles and singles to try to get
Yeah,
matchups
yeah, that's true. That's true.
and rest strategies in there. That's it's interesting. I like the gamesmanship that goes on there. For women's tennis, next up for them, also ITA kickoff weekend, but they instead of getting Austin, they'll get Malibu. So
Yep.
that'll be fun. I'm not sure what the air quality situation will be in Malibu at that
Yeah,
point.
I
So
thought I had mentioned last time I was talking with Jake last week. I was like, are they actually going to do this? Because Malibu has not had a good last couple weeks here.
I don't know if they have I mean, maybe they have an indoor.
Probably. I think the campus seems to be fine. I've never heard anything big about Pepperdine's campus suffering any major damage. So
That
hopefully
place
everything's okay.
is
Uh,
that place is a whole party. That
but
place.
we're also not the only Southeastern team going out there. We play, of all teams, to start Florida State in Pepperdine because
We can go
geography.
do that at home. Why you gotta fly out to California
It's
for
the new
that?
ACC. You have to play your opponents in California now.
Not just the California opponents. You have to play all of your opponents in California. Other teams in that group are Arizona and, of course, Pepperdine. So keep an eye out for that. Jack, this is not on our shot sheet, but I
Okay.
wanted to bring this up because I've
Yeah.
been watching Australian Open coverage. And again, you can
Mm.
cut this. This has just come to mind
No, I love
immediately.
the Australian Open. It's staying in.
Did you? And I was thinking about college tennis, and someone I was watching with this labeled this basically a certifiable college tennis moment. Did you see Danielle Collins absolutely dig out the Aussie crowd after beating an Aussie tennis player
Oh,
like 3 or 4 nights ago?
I want to say I saw a blip of this. I've been trying to watch this, and my sleep schedule has been terrible, so I haven't been able to catch any much action. But I want to say I did see this come across the timeline at some point.
If you haven't seen it, it just, I mean, I assume if you just Google Daniel Collins Aussie Open, you will
Yeah,
find the
yeah.
clip that I'm talking about. But podcasting is a visual medium, so I'll try to paint you a picture. She beats a Daniel Collins again is American. She went to UVA, if I
Hmm.
remember correctly.
Okay.
She defeats a Aussie opponent in the early rounds of the Australian Open, and the crowd apparently has been giving it to her the entire time. Obviously, the Australian Open
Right.
is in Melbourne. All right, it's in Australia, obviously. So the
Mm-hmm.
crowd is supporting their
Mm-hmm.
hometown player, and the crowd is giving it to her the entire way.
Oh, oh,
Um,
oh.
and after she hits the game-winning point, she's blowing kisses to the crowd. She's
Oh, man.
just
Oh,
really getting into it. And at one point, the crowd just loses its mind at being heckled back. It's a great clip.
amazing.
You should 100% go watch it. It's hilarious.
Just don't lose. That's always the lesson. Don't lose.
She did lose in the next round, so
Oh,
that doesn't help. She lost to Rai. I'm not gonna be able to
Rabakina.
say Rabakina. Yes,
Okay,
I
well,
think so.
okay,
And then I didn't.
It's Rabakina. That makes sense. Okay.
And then I lost track of what happened in the Rybakina Keys match later on. Anyway, this is completely not related to Georgia Tech in any way. This is just like college tennis is forever. It's a beautiful moment when you can
Yes. Yeah.
just you actually lean into being a heel in an international
Yeah.
sporting event like this. And really get back at the crowd for digging into you. It's fantastic. It was
Yeah.
great cinema, absolutely great theater. Jack, you know what else was great theater? Oh, well,
Uh.
depends on which team you were in this meet.
Well.
Georgia.
Yeah, go.
Great transition.
I know we
We're
did it.
doing so great. Georgia Tech swim and dive, a dual meet versus Duke. Tech did not pick up the win on either side of this bracket, unfortunately. A
Oh no, we did. We won
five.
the men. We won the
Oh,
men.
you did win. Okay. I have these. I'm reading numbers wrong, unfortunately. So this was cinema.
Yeah,
I went into this wrong. Anyway, men, victory. Excuse me, 258 versus 102 for the men, and then 167 versus 201 for the women. This was a senior day meet in the middle of January. So that's interesting. This is
happens.
the fourth victory for the Tech men this season. They won all, or Tech as a team, won all four relays on day two, including a come from behind victory in the anchor leg of the 200 free relay, which is my favorite type of victory, by
Yeah,
Sophie Murphy. Pretty cool.
good stuff. Those are the big highlights. Max Fowler did her thing. Anna Bradescu did her thing. I think Fowler didn't actually win. I think Bradescu won. But nonetheless, dual meet wins good. That's the main thing. We beat Duke in something that wasn't football. That's that's the headline I have here is that we beat them in a thing that we don't.
Beat them in swimming this weekend. Next weekend, beat them in women's basketball.
I think hey, honestly, okay, I've now found my new favorite storyline for the year. We don't lose to Duke in anything in the 2024-2020. This won't happen because tennis exists, but just
Yeah.
it'd be incredible if we could go a whole year and beat Duke in everything. That
Well, men's
well, we already lost
basketball
them in
exists.
basketball. Dang it! You know what? Honestly, I don't think that should count. I think
No, no,
we
no.
should
You
ignore.
just count, and you can't even count women's sports. This is complicated. This is going to be really complicated.
Anyway,
Anyway,
what's next? What's
swim and
next?
dive. Next up, they will travel to Columbia, South Carolina. They will swim off against South Carolina in another duel. That'll be next week. That'll be or at the end of this week. Excuse me. That is January 25th. Jack, news and notes from across the Georgia Tech ecosystem.
We will make this quick. Club hockey, they made their trip down to the Savannah Classic, one of the best events in club hockey. They got fourth place, sadly, in that. I guess I want to say Georgia usually plays that. I want to say maybe Tennessee and one other team was there.
Usually, I think it's Tennessee and FSU that make
Okay.
up the rest of the field. But while you keep talking,
Nonetheless,
I will
uh,
Google it.
yeah, didn't have the result we want there, but I mean that's just a fun event. If you're a big time Tech sports fan, that's a bucket list item. That'll give you some real street cred if you can make it down to that event one time.
Real-time
Um,
follow-up. It's
yep,
Florida, not Florida State. So that
Florida
is
this time. Okay,
that's
got it.
rough for me.
Got it. Oh, well, you're close enough. It's fine. Um, softball, they have an open practice February 2nd, which is Pro Bowl weekend, so no football in your way. If you want to go see our
Hey,
softball team,
hey, 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 hey. Some of us respect the flag football final, That's pretty cool.
I will only respect it if they call it an Olympic qualifying event.
Okay, I'm actually in for that. I'm
Yeah,
100% in for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
Okay.
we can worry about that in 2027, 2028.
We'll deal with that later. On the so if y'all want to go to that, that's a thing. Uh, Freshman Emma Simon, who's an infielder, came in from Marist. She is on D1 softball's top 100 freshman watch list. We so got her. That's fantastic. This is the year where a lot of last year's very highly ranked signees are going to come into the fold. And we still got some pitching left over from last year that was very good. So notably with Sophia Voiles. So I am. This will be well.
An
Actually, we gotta
interesting
do
year.
this will be an interesting year, and I'm realizing it's January 20th, and the season starts in like 2 or 3 weeks. So we got to do our preview
Yeah.
pod pretty
Yeah,
soon
we
on that one.
should.
That is a
One more note on Simon, by the way. I think we spilled a lot of ink on talking about how Tech in the past, maybe at the before Eileen Morales and during the early part of her tenure struggled to recruit some of these Georgia schools and some of these Georgia travel ball teams.
mhm,
And this is something that I picked up on when I read this article is that, oh
mm,
crap, she's from Marist. And
yeah,
Marist has won,
yeah,
and while she was there, won three state titles. So
it's
um,
big. It's big.
state titles, private school, take that for what it's worth. But the fact that she's getting some of these top line
Hmm.
Georgia recruits after a very fallow period, I think I'm using that
This
word
has been the
right.
trend. I mean, this is the trend across all of tech sports right now. Brent's getting back into the backyard. I now only recruited from Georgia and got the backyard again this time. Georgia, we know for softball, Georgia's an absolute hot. Like we're a hotbed for most sports. not recruiting Georgia doesn't make sense if you're Georgia Tech, and we're doing across the board. We're doing better at this. So yeah, this is a good sight
Yeah.
to see.
But I just wanted to make sure I filled
Yeah.
in those lines
Mm-hmm.
real
Mm-hmm.
quick, but please continue.
Track and field, we were at the Vandy Invitational. The main thing we want to note is John Watkins got second place in the triple jump. That is sadly our only podium finish we had at anything over the weekend, and I didn't see any records or anything like that. But good, congrats to John for knocking that out. Uh, Volleyball, we've had a couple signings that have been announced. We want to note that Bianca Bertolino, who I believe she's in her final semester of classes, but she was drafted by the Atlanta Vibe and has made her debut with the Atlanta Vibe. She played a couple sets. She appeared in two sets in their 3-2 win over the Columbus Fury, and then yesterday appeared in a set against Grand Rapids. I believe she is only playing home games because she does still have classes to attend and wants that degree. And so I think the Vibe are deep enough in their depth that they can afford to do that. Which is, hey, that's not a thing you can guarantee in all pro sports. I think that's awesome that she gets to have the best of both worlds here right now, and probably still get to train with Tech's team too while she's at it if she needs to, and with real pros like Iko Jones, who she used to play against, and Merritt Beeson, the Nebraska phenom. So it's a good team. It's a good team.
Stacked rosters for those and for LOVB, which I think
Absolutely.
is like love. I don't know
Love volleyball. I don't know, something
name.
like that.
The names are weird.
They
Anyway,
play,
please continue.
yeah, they play at College Park. And then we've got a transfer signing from Pitt, Bianca Garibaldi. She was a middle blocker. She didn't play last season, so don't know truly what her value is going to be or how she's going to fit in. But hopefully well. Michelle does not like to bring in people who don't play. And then Abigail Lee, who is one of our recruits, was named the Georgia Gatorade Player of the Year. Again, recruiting from the backyard. Getting the best players. We had the best middle blocker last year in Logan Wiley. Now we got Abigail Lee. This is the stuff you want to see if you're us. This is the whole point of this. So I think in the end, that your miscellaneous section is all about us recruiting the people we need to recruit, which is fantastic.
That's a good way to end it. Jack, we keep in all these episodes where it's like right at the beginning of the year, or just like a very fallow period. Again, I'm hoping I'm using that word right because I'm trying new SAT words for 2025. We keep thinking, oh, we're gonna be done in 30 minutes. It's gonna be so quick. And I'm
I
looking at the
mean,
calendar now, and it's nearing an hour.
we know each other, and we read nothing but the online all the time about all the sports all the
So
time.
brain
And
melted.
when you put
Someone
our
please help us.
when you put me, you, and Jake in a room together, that this is what happens. It's like we've done this every week for 2 years now.
It's
Which
insane.
sad we didn't have Jake on. He's had some stuff to attend to. But hey, it's been a while since all three of us have done this together. So I'm looking forward to next
Look,
week.
scheduling during the festive period is hard.
It is that it is. But we'll get
Uh,
there. I mean, I know Jake's gonna have about 18,000 opinions on softball and baseball coming up. So
oh, we're gonna hear it. We're gonna get texts. I'm looking forward to it actually. When
31
he
transfers on the
grinds the
base.
tape.
By the way, 31 transfers on the baseball team, or 21 or 31. It's a lot. If you don't recognize any people on the baseball team, don't be concerned. That's because that's what happened. Barely anyone saved.
It's not like the 2016 Brave season where they traded everyone away before the first week of the season.
Nope, we traded everyone after the last week of the season. Something like that. Anyways,
It's
I
the
think that's it.
reverse. Anyway, that's it. We're gonna keep doing bits if we keep sitting here longer. Jack, where can the people find us
You
on
can
the
fi-
internet?
you can find us at fromtherumbleseat.com or email us at fromtherumbleseat@gmail.com if you have any questions for the mailbag or just want to chat with us, or if you want to come write for us. The invite is always open for anyone who wants to do so. We just only ask for some consistency and some writing samples if you do so. You can find us on Twitter at FTRS blog or on Blue Sky, same handle. Jake, I think he's just on Blue Sky now at Jake Grant 98. I am at Jack Nicholas on both the Twitter and the Blue Sky for now, although the Twitter machine, I'm asking questions about myself now. You can find this podcast, Science of the Southland, wherever fine podcasts are sold. Again, for those that I got to meet out at the split cast, full cast zone thing, podcast, whatever. Thank you for saying hi. That was awesome. I got to shout out the guy who showed up in the Jeff Collins vest that was authentic Jeff Collins vest. That was truly one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Spencer Hall straight up took a picture of it. It was one of the funniest things
You can't
I've
see
ever
the
seen.
face that I'm making. Podcasting, of course, is visual media.
I thought I recognized that shirt from somewhere. I'm like, oh my god, I know exactly what this is. So shout out to that guy. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in person. Anyways, I think that's all I got. Thanks for listening. Go Jackets.